Hello, my name is Mitch Greco. I am the Director of Percussion and World Music at West Liberty University, and we're going to be talking about polyrhythms today. We're going to hopefully do a whole series on these, getting more and more complicated, more and more challenging. But we're going to start out pretty easy and just talk about polyrhythms in general, okay? I think this is helpful for a variety of different percussionists. No matter your instrument, your primary instrument or your primary style. This can be incorporated in a number of different ways. And it's also a really challenging kind of coordination exercise that you can do with no equipment really whatsoever. You don't even need these sticks. You can just use your hands. Okay, the first one that we're going to talk about is the most simplest, okay, and that's a 3-2 polyrhythm. Sometimes you'll see that written as this, the 3-2, or of course 2-3. And basically, you all know this already. We could think of it in a single line, which is something that you've seen quite a bit. Most likely, you may have seen this in a compound time signature like 3/8, 6/8, 9/8, or 12/8. And this is the 3/2 polyrhythm written down as a single line. That might help some of you, okay? Think of it in a single line. And that's great, okay? But for now, I'm going to erase that because we don't need our 8th notes, 16th notes, anything like that. We could actually make a grid. If you make a grid, it ends up being much easier to see, and you can do more things with it, I think, because you're kind of free of thinking of gagic accents, meter, things like that. It also becomes very easy to get our more complicated polyrhythms down the road. Okay, so let's say we wanted to start with 3. Okay, so we're going to start on our 3 side on the top, and we're going to make a line at the beginning. So our first note is going to be here, and we're going to go every third. So that's 1, 2, 3. Now we need 2 groups of those 3, so we're going to do another group, X, and then 1, 2, and then this would be kind of a darker one, if I can do this, darker one here, and then a darker one there. Okay, we have 2 different lines here, the 3 and the 2, so now we're going to go to the 2, and we're going to start on an X, okay, that's going to occur at the same time, and we're going to go every other, so 1, 2, and then an X, and then 1, 2, and then another X here. And we end up double checking, and yes, we did 3 of those groups of 2. 1, 2, 3, okay? So that's one way that you can figure out how to do any polyrhythm that exists, okay? And as we get more complicated, I'll show you how that works a little bit more, okay? But that's our general 3/2. Okay, or in one hand you're doing a 3, and at the same amount of time you're doing 2 in another hand, or another voice, okay? But I think probably easiest to do is in your hands, okay? So that would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's our top line, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Your other hand is doing 1, 2, 1, 2. Do them at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, pretty easy. You've probably done it before, or you're tapping along while I'm talking, and you could already do that. But we're not done yet. There's a lot of cool things that you can do. There are a lot of cool things that composers have asked for and that percussionists do use that we need to test, okay? So if you really want to see the 3/2 polyrhythm all the way, you need to be able to do 3 in one hand and then add the 2. Other hand. You go 2 to 3. I think that's a little bit harder, but if one hand's doing a 2 and the other hand is doing a 3. Might be helpful to think of the entire composite, kind of what I've written up there in standard notation and erased it, blasted, or what's here, okay, dot, 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 dot. other hand. Da, 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 da. Okay, so there's 4 possibilities there. You need to start with 3 and add the 2. Start with 3 at the right, start with 3 at the left. You need to start with 2, add the 3. Right hand start with 2, add the left with the 3. Again, 4th permutation, start with the 2 on the left, and then add the 3 in the right. Good, okay, so you can layer it. Step 2, or the next step. I forget what step we're on already. Let's think about dynamics. I think it's a little bit easier to do gradual dynamics. Okay, you might find differently. This is such a coordinated thing. It's touching your coordination that everyone's going to be a little bit different. Some people are going to be able to do it like that, but some people they're going to have to go through a process and dig deep and fight those frustrations, breathe, think about it, come back, make sure you're not too tense, etc., etc. Okay, but I'm going to do 3 in the right hand, 2 in the left hand, and I'm going to do gradual diminuendos and crescendos with the right hand. Let's start with the right hand. Okay, so 3 over 2. Let's do that same thing in the left hand. So my left hand is doing 2s, but we're going to crescendo and diminuendo. Okay, sorry for that little screw up while I was talking, but I'm not going to stop this tape and do another take. I don't believe it. Believe in it. Okay, and then you could do the exact opposite. So you're doing the 3s in the left hand and then the 2s in the right hand and crescendoing, diminuendoing. Now, can you do both? Can you crescendo one hand as you diminuendo the other? I have to do this in a piece that I'm preparing, Michael Gordon's XY, all the time. Okay, so then you really get to find out, can you really think about one independent line and one pulse, and can you control it? Okay, so I'm going to start loud in the, let's do the 3s in the right hand, okay? And then I'm going to switch their dynamics. Okay, so not only crescendoing and diminuendoing, but doing both at the same time. We also want an ability to do sudden changes, sudden dynamic changes. So I'm going to do, I'll just stick with the 3 in the right hand and then 2 in the left hand, and I'll do a bar of 4, 4, or 12, 8. Both of them are occurring at the same time, so full 4 compound beats, let's call them, and then I'll switch. Hopefully. So I think I said I'm going to do 3 over here. Okay, so. Okay, once you get that, so there are your sudden dynamic changes. We also need to change from 3 with the right hand and 2 with the left to 3 with the left hand, 2 with the right. I like to integrate the dynamic changes into this exercise as well. So what you're going to hear hopefully is the straight 3s. I'm going to make the 3s forte and the 2s down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it with my right hand first, and then I'm going to switch it over to my left hand. This is surprisingly difficult. For me, this is surprisingly difficult, but I'm going to give it a go. I did it, but you saw that I took it slower because I wasn't super confident. Okay, we can always up the tempo. That's always another way to make this more challenging. Okay, and you can do the same thing with the 2s. So your 2s are allowed all the time, and then that changes from your right hand to your left hand. Okay, another thing that we can add to it is doing different things with orchestration. So let's say at home you only have a pad. Of course, you can get a pan from the kitchen, or a variety of other materials and surfaces to play. But let's say we want to stick to the pad. If we change the orchestration, we can make longer phrases and even kind of implied phrases within our 3/2, okay? So I think the easiest one is to change the 2 side to having 2 different surfaces. That's the easiest way to do it. So I have 3 here and I have 2 here, and then I'll go between the rim and the surface of the pad itself, okay? So be able to do that, and the right hand as well. Okay, the 3 side is a little bit harder, but you can do really cool stuff. Let's make it easy. Let's do like pad on the downbeat and then 2 clicks on the rim. Okay. Okay, then I just switched it to the left, but it'll still pad, click, click. You can create, instead of a 2/3, we can times that by 2 if our 3 voice is going between 2 different surfaces. Okay, so it's going to be pad, rim, pad, and then vertically speaking, we're together, but we're on the rim for our 3, and then rim, pad, rim, and then we're back. So we're doing 2 of these. Essentially, we're doing a 6/4. Okay, in the vertical, we're doing 3/2, but when we add the orchestration, we really need to do 6 of the 3 voice and 4 of the 2 voice to come back to the beginning of our cycle. Okay, so. Okay, and I think that should keep you busy for a while, even if you just have a pad. If you have other surfaces, you can do really cool stuff. So send me an email, okay, or get my contact information from Mr. Birch. My students have my contact info. But let me see what you're doing, what interesting things, what creative things you're doing with the 3/2 polyrhythm. And when I think enough of us are ready, then I'll make another video on the next one would be 4/3. But basically in my piece XY, I have to do a 6/5, and I have to do, I think, 4 measures of that. So that actually ends up being 8 cycles of a 6/5. So basically I'm doing a 48/40 in this piece. We're not going to go that far. We only have a few weeks left in the semester, but maybe we can get to 5/4, 6/5. 7/3 is a tricky one, that's for sure. So we're going to have to come back here and kind of revisit that and how to do a 7/3. It's tricky, but it's very possible doing the grid work. Essentially, you're making a grid. Okay, so looking forward to seeing your all videos and have fun with that.